They call themselves Hope, hackers on planet Earth. And every 4 years they meet in conference. They look innocent enough, but to the world of e-commerce, they are a deadly threat. They are computer hackers, internet outlaws.
We explore and you call us criminals. We seek after knowledge and you call us criminals. We exist without skin color, without nationality, without religious bias, and you call us criminals. You build atomic bombs, you wage wars, you murder, cheat, and lie to us and try to make us believe it's for our own good, yet we're the criminals. Yes, I am a criminal. My crime is out of curiosity. My crime is out of judging people by what they say and think, not what they look like. My crime is out of outsmarting you, something that you will never forgive me for.
This is a big hackers conference, so we're attending this to find out what else we need to do to attack people. So it should be interesting. I'm not sure how forthcoming the hackers will be with us. We'll probably try to be a little bit discreet. The last time they had Hope, all the businesses in New York went onto an alert status because they were so concerned about all these hackers being in New York at one time. People were actually really hacking into sites from the Hope conference. With the law enforcement presence, I'm sure that the New York High-Tech Crime Squad and the Secret Service here has got an elevated status of monitoring going on as this conference goes on.
In this New York building, more than 50 law enforcement agents have been brought together by the US Secret Service to fight cybercrime.
New York is the financial capital of the world. We can't afford to let the companies, the victims that are being targeted, go offline very long. If they go offline for too long, then they're out of business. And it's time sensitive. You can't afford to let Wall Street go down. The financial institutions here in New York City, the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ.
But it's not just the cops who are watching. Internet security companies too need to know what hackers are up to. And they have undercover operatives to find out.
When we get there, let's just try and highlight some stuff that you guys will attend and be responsible for. And I think we'll just kind of wing it from there. Certainly if there's any software being handed out, you know, we talked about that before. If you you know, there may be an opportunity for you to pick up a CD, goodies from somebody, if that's possible. You know, we'll do that. We'll certainly, I'm sure, be seeing some of our old friends there. Yeah, let's go.
Come in.
Okay.
And so, defenders of e-commerce set out to do battle with the internet outlaws of planet Earth. Today's big event is the Capture the Flag competition, when hackers try to out-hack each other. It's the ultimate test of their skill.
Any questions on that? Anybody have a honeypot? It's another opportunity for insertion.
But for John and Alan of Internet Security Systems, it is also a unique opportunity to monitor the latest advances in hacking.
Certain common documents people would want to counterfeit, like currency, that sort of thing. And if you try to copy this on one of these high-end color photocopiers, it'll shut the machine down and put it into a mode that says error code such and such. So when you call, you cannot get the thing to work unless you call the manufacturer and they dispatch a technician who can then, you know, basically reboot it by sending some bytes to it or something. But in the process, all these calls that are logged with that error code immediately report to the Secret Service.
And again, whenever you see the guys with the white things coming out of the ears, you know you're in deep shit.
You usually see the guns before you see the white things coming out.
Forget about Big Brother, CIA, NSA. Yes, it's true, they gather every scrap of knowledge that's out there, but they never look at it. And if they do look at it, they don't know what the hell it is. The people for you to worry about are private industry, private companies who have a financial interest in looking up your behind, in knowing everything about you. The CIA, unless you're a terrorist or planning, or not even a hacker, let me tell you that, unless you're a good hacker, a really good hacker, and then they only want to identify you to hire you.
In the short history of hacking, one group above all has achieved legendary status.
Cult of the Dead Cow was formed in 1984. It started in little town of Lubbock, Texas, which is a big cattle town in the middle of nowhere. Founded by two people, Swamp Rat and Frank and Guy. Originally we were sort of like a text file group, releasing stories and articles and things like that. This is on before the days of the internet, when hackers and just computer people used to talk to each other on BBS systems, where BBS stands for bulletin board system, and it would be like one computer calling another computer, and they'd post messages, things like that, and that's how CDC started. And then with the development of the net, CDC sort of migrated over onto that. And since then, we've gotten a lot more into both the technical side of hacking and like sort of the social activism side.
But while the Cult of the Dead Cow are the established superstars, Chris is more concerned about the stars of tomorrow.
Let's scope out the floor and see if there's actually going to be any kind of hacking contest. I think the stuff that's critical for the rest of the conference is going to be keeping an eye on anybody who appears to be a superstar in that hacking room. The CDC extravaganza, I think we have to attend. Yeah, I'm sure if they know they're going to want us to participate too. I know they don't like me personally too much.
Up with that volume! Ready!
The most popular operating system in the world is Microsoft Windows. The problem with these, especially with 95 and 98, is that they have no computer security whatsoever. This has been well known within the computer industry for a long time, and people have complained to Microsoft, but Microsoft has never done anything about fixing it. Because of this, what we did is we went around and we looked at like all the various holes that people have exposed in Microsoft Windows, and we bundled all these holes up together and built a tool to try to take advantage of that. The original tool was called Back Orifice.
Back Orifice is a little Trojan horse that goes into your computer and it hides. It hides in a file. Now you go looking for it, it becomes anamorphic. And what I mean by that is that when it looks for it in that file, what it'll do is it'll jump over and run over to that file. And then it'll run over to another file. So it's very difficult to find. And what it does, just so you know, is I've got all the information on your hard drive. So you think that you've been secure and you've been safe and you've been writing secret little messages and you've been on sites that you shouldn't have been on. Guess what? I know exactly where you've been and where you're going. Because as soon as you power up your computer and as soon as you start typing in your password, I got it.
The way the Back Orifice works is that it allows someone, say a hacker, over the internet to run a program on your computer, and then once that program has been run, the hacker has more control over your computer than you would actually have sitting at your computer. What that means is that they could access all your files, they could watch what you're doing when you're typing, they could delete files, they could turn on and off your computer. If you have a camera attached to your computer, they could take pictures with it. If you have a microphone attached to your computer, they could turn it on and record what was going on in the room with your computer, etc. Things like that. It's actually, it's pretty scary what Microsoft Windows allows remote users to do, and that's what we were trying to let people know, is that this is a problem.
In 1999, the Cult of the Dead Cow updated the Back Orifice program with a version for Windows NT called Back Orifice 2000, and they added some additional functionality, such as the ability to spy on a computer. If you have a microphone or quick cam adapter plugged into your computer, a hacker with Back Orifice can actually turn on the microphone and listen to what's going on in the room, or turn on the camera and see what's going on in the room, as well as other things like intercept passwords for bank logins, or basically take full control over your computer. With these new tools being released by the Cult, we saw them as a serious threat, and they were adopted as the most popular backdoor by computer hackers, infecting thousands of machines globally, perhaps even tens of thousands of machines. It's very difficult to identify. We developed software countermeasures for both of these tools within about 24 hours after their release, and pushed those out to our customers so they could protect themselves against this new threat introduced by the Cult.
But if it's one thing stopping hackers getting into your computer, it's another trying to control a computer virus. This man is a computer virologist, and his company has developed an immune system that can kill most viruses in seconds.
Each day, our customer sends us a floppy disk which contain potential viruses. And what we would do is we would actually scan these floppy disks with our latest version of Norton antivirus. Day to day, we can get anywhere from 10 to 30 new viruses. In May of 2000, we actually got 25,000 submissions. These are the files they have sent us with potential virus in them.
This is terrible! What a nightmare! How are we going to save them? We must make a sexually transmitted computer virus. Start programming!
Start hacking!
Transmit! 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 It seems to be working! We appear to have done it!
Thank God!
Go, CDC, go!
If you think your computers are safe, ha, 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 ha. No way. Absolutely not. When I go on the internet, first of all, I've never ordered anything online, and I never will. Never's a long time, but I never will. I don't care if there's 52 firewalls at the other end. I'm not doing it, because it's very easy to get your number over the internet. I can do it like that. And any other information I want to get about you. If I want to find out where you live now, I can get that information very easily. If I want to get where you lived before, I can get that too. If I want to get your home number, I can get that. If I wanted to get your shoe size, I would venture to say I could get that over the internet.
There are actually more ways to break into computers than there are computer viruses on a daily basis. Hackers are uncovering new ways to break in every day, and they're using them to break into systems, deface web pages, steal money from bank accounts, and shut down e-commerce systems with denial of service attacks that allow no one to actually do business on the internet.
Dare.com, which is a website or an anti-drug website, got hacked into by a suspect named Coolio, or called himself Coolio. I found a website in Arizona, obtained a search warrant for that site, went through all those logs and the emails of that site, and I was able to track down the suspect in the state of New Hampshire on the other side of the United States. This is one of the other images that he left on the website, which is basically a picture of Donald Duck shooting drugs. He left this picture of this rat, which is, it says, "This rat is high on marijuana." He had also hacked into a couple Air Force websites and had been in their websites, and the Air Force was also looking for him. On this particular site, he had made death threats against the president, which also caused this case to become a national case. He's looking at numerous years in prison for the numerous hacking he's done on websites.
Viruses, by definition, what they do is they copy itself from program to program. What this means is that the virus portion of the program actually copies itself to another program. That's why they're called viruses. But often you hear about viruses actually doing something very bad. Well, what they're basically talking about is often these viruses, they just don't replicate, but they often have what we call a payload. They actually do something. This can range from displaying some visual message, sometimes pictures, sometimes text, or sometimes it does things like format your hard drive, do something very disruptive. For example, we have a virus called Burma, or often termed as a toilet bowl virus. Another one, on a certain time of the day, it actually displayed an ambulance. One of the very popular ones is called Happy 99. This is one of the most prevalent worms or viruses that are out there today. Also, a lot of people thought this was very pretty and actually sent this out to other people. But little did they realize that they didn't even have to send it to other people. The worm itself sent itself to other people. This is how it spread so rapidly. So there are viruses or worms that actually displays a lot of things. But there's often a virus or worm that doesn't display anything. For example, Melissa virus, or lately we had the love bug worm. Actually, these things didn't display anything. They were just simple attachments in email, and when you double click on them, they didn't do much. All it did was when you execute them, in the background, it would automatically send itself out to other people, so you didn't see any visual effects.
So e-commerce has had some tough formative years. Assailed on one side by viruses, which caused millions of pounds worth of damage, and on the other by internet delinquents who vandalize their way through cyberspace. The future too looks grim.
Windows machines do a couple of odd things when you send them a packet that basically says, I'm done using a name. It says, oh shit, somebody was using my name. I better stop using it. So basically what happens is with a very small UDP packet, you can completely disable the NetBIOS networking on any remote machine. I notified Microsoft about that about 4 weeks ago this Tuesday, actually. When I first notified them, they said, oh, yeah, actually, we were just about to come out with a patch for that. But we're going to delay it now that you told us something we already know about. Oh, and we can't credit you because we already knew about that, and yada, yada.
Frequently, when a hacker identifies a new way to break into a computer system, they actually publish that tool and make it available to others under the pretenses of doing that to encourage people to improve their security. However, what that does is it enables individuals who don't have that skill set to identify that really technical way through programming and knowing machine code to break into that computer. It allows anybody with an internet connection to go and start hacking machines.
When Windows machines start up, they send out a packet which says, hey, I'd like to use this name. Is that okay with everybody? So one of the other things my program does is say, no. So basically the effect is if you have this program running on a network and you can receive the broadcast UDP packets that Windows machines transmit, and you can respond to those broadcast packets, the Windows machines on that network will always think that there's already a machine with their name on the network and never be able to join the network.
Another tool was announced by the cult, and that was a scanning tool that is used to identify large numbers of computers that are open to attack on the internet. And they announced that tool, however, did not release a copy of that. And that's a tool that's kind of referred to as a war dialer for the internet. It's a tool that allows you to probe lots of systems over a computer network, targeting in on the ones that are vulnerable to attack and allowing you to break in. It's not so much of a vulnerability as it is a weapon of war or tool for the internet to allow you to attack mass amounts of computers.
Today we're putting out a lot of hacktivism apps, trying to push hackerism into a new frontier, a new definition. We're trying to change the definition of hacker into one that means a Renaissance person.
A lot of people who don't even have internet connections, a lot of people in North Korea, Cuba, China, all over the place who have some access, but they can't see the entire internet. So we've decided that they should be able to see that. We're putting together a crack group of hackers outside of the CDC. I recruited them personally just last week. Got a piece of raw meat, threw it into Times Square, and I hired the first 5 guys to bid into it. One of them, Bronkbuster. Another guy you might have heard of called the Mixter, German hacker.
Yeah.
There are 3 other guys, but I can't quite mention the names right now because they have very important jobs and they don't want their names mentioned with this product just for now.
The critical element in evaluating a hacker conference is really for us to identify the components and areas of the hacking conference we need to attend. And we look at them both from a technical arena, where we identify different technologies that will be discussed by the hackers that require our attention. And additionally, we have to look at it from a social perspective, in that we have to identify where the hackers will be grouping together and going out for drinks or for dinner, and try and attend those venues so that we can get to know who the players are on the computer underground.
Beer and banter aside, this is a war with very high stakes. If the e-commerce gets it wrong, the consequences could be catastrophic. A denial-of-service attack is the big corporate nightmare, when hackers so flood a system with requests that it crashes.
We've gotten an alert on the ERS STF NSX01 sensor. Core sweeps are generally somebody looking for a weakness in a server until it's accompanied with it coming from, if we get multiple sweeps from the same source, then that's enough to warrant perhaps blocking that IP or some other action which Doug will decide what's appropriate. The potential hacker followed up with a couple of tools, a tribe flood attack, which is generally a synchronized attack from many servers, as well as a couple of other tools, standard package tools for finding vulnerabilities. It's a denial of service attack. Here they come again. Looks like they are trying to do the denial of service attack. Hi, this is Mark from Operations. Yeah, we have 3 more identical alerts to the last 3. Same house name. Okay, bye. So the attack is going to continue, and as the emergency response service team member, Doug, will contact the customer and advise on the appropriate action.
I would go to the firewall that you have sitting in front of this web server and deny all packets that are coming inbound from these 2 addresses. When an attack comes in, it can involve 2, 3, 4, any number of computer systems on down the line. Hackers will often go through many different computer systems trying to mask their actual origin, where they're trying to come from.
We monitor sites in the computer underground, websites that hackers use to trade their secrets or exploits. We also monitor the internet chat rooms where really all the deal making in the computer underground between computer hackers takes place. This is a really anonymous area that allows hackers to take on their own identity and protect themselves from tracing while able to freely converse and trade in the currency of the computer underground. The currency of the computer underground consists of things like exploits or almost weapons, like a new gun to break into a computer system. It also consists of actually trading systems that have been broken into. So for instance, maybe one hacker wants to break into a system or website that he's not able to. He's able to trade some other hacker a different website or maybe a bank that he compromised in exchange for the website he wants access to.
Las Vegas and another hackers conference. This one is the biggest, and it's called DEF CON.
It's going to get worse, a lot worse than what we're seeing now. Without proper protection and without updating your DAT files as you should every week or every day if possible, you're just asking for trouble. Imagine looking at a very, very large fan and having a big pile of stuff on top of that fan, and it's going to hit it real soon. We've made it far too easy for viruses to be created, and it's at the point right now where anybody can create viruses that are actually very destructive. I think the most dangerous thing a virus or worm can do in the future is that it can probably steal things from you, and also send this to people you don't want to be seen. For example, you can be writing an important document, very confidential information, and maybe you can be infected by a macrovirus, which would automatically steal this document and the content of it, and not just send it to people you know, but maybe even post this to things like news groups or some website where it's accessible by somebody. So I think in the future, we're not just going to see disruptive virus. I think we're going to see viruses and worms actually export data out of your machine.
Back at DEF CON, meanwhile, the hackers abandoned their computers for some old-fashioned American fun.
What's the first thing a lot of kids do with a computer? It's probably in a video arcade when they're 12. And what are they doing in a video arcade? Shoot 'em up games, right? And then you get a computer, and what's the first thing? It's Space Invaders, it's Asteroids, or whatever it might be. It's Doom now, and shoot 'em up. So
right. First-person shooting games.
Right. So now it's just an extension of, gee, I'd like to pick a gun up now, and wow, it's fun to shoot one of these.
I'm a systems analyst, and I use it to check information systems for security. I do that as well. And of course, I do other things with it that I usually don't talk about.
So what are they?
Oh, no.
Target practice is one thing, but everyone is waiting for the announcement from the real big guns, the cult of the dead cow. Everyone who is anyone in the great cyber war is here. College nerds and corporate agents, cybercops and cyber crims.
Mr. by the like of you. So, we released Back Orifice 2 years ago and VO2K last year. There was a lot of sort of like flack, and that's not what CDC's about. We're not a software company. We've been around since 1984. What we are, basically.
Alan from Internet Security Systems is here. So is Motoaki from Symantec. Waiting, watching.
And that's what we are. We happen to have released a couple of tools, but they were a means to an end, as opposed to the end being global domination, of course. But they're not an end unto themselves, and it seems like people seem to be expecting us to release more, and that's really your problem.
The big event was the CDC conference, which was pretty much of a disappointment. They didn't give out any software like they did last year. It was mostly theatrics, the same type of thing we saw at Hope 2K.
No longer much of a risk to us. I really think they're more interested in bashing Microsoft than they are in computer security. One thing that's interesting, I noticed the ADM crew has been hacking a lot of websites. They also rooted out the DEF CON site pretty quickly.
A lot of exploits.
Yeah.
Have a lot of those.
Yeah, those guys I think are I think they're replacing CDC on the radar.
We have analysts who attend hacker conferences such as DEF CON. The ones that always get the most press, that you always see in the newspapers and on the news, are the hackers, the kids or young people who are attacking a computer network or a computer system from the outside. Yes, those do exist, but that's not actually where the greatest threat comes from. The greatest threat actually is from the insider, if you will. If you stop and think about it, the person that's inside, employees, people that actually belong on that network, already have some of the keys to that kingdom. They have a legitimate account and a legitimate password that they can use to get on that system with. And that's always the first goal of any hacker, is to get a legitimate account. Once they have a legitimate account, then they see what they can do to expand the privileges and capabilities of that account to get to other places within the network or other places within that system. The motives run the gamut. They can be anything from revenge to curiosity, money. When I conduct an investigation into intrusion into a company's network and it begins to look like it has in fact come from the inside, as an investigator, one of the first questions that I usually ask is who's recently been fired from the company, and when they were fired, what kind of access did they have, and was it a case where they left quietly or did they leave kicking and screaming? Quite often what we see on cases where the hacker turns out to be an insider, the motive is actually a case of revenge. They're trying to exact or extol some kind of revenge for their being fired unfairly, as they feel.
Most organizations have a very hard to penetrate exterior to their computer networks. So from the internet or for dialing in with modems, it's very hard to break into those organizations. But once an insider actually works at those organizations, it's very easy to compromise those computer systems and traverse them. So once they're in the soft, chewy center, an insider is able to really compromise almost anything they want to.
Maybe as high as 80% of our cases are internal compromises of the system. A programmer who developed and designed the program, the software programs for online trading, became very possessive of his product, which, by the way, belongs to the company that you work for. If you develop it and design it on their payroll, then it's not yours. It's not your intellectual property. It belongs to the company. The salary negotiation turned into an extortion, which caused the programmer, as a suspect now, to start denial of service attacks. Over a several-day period, he was effective in causing the server to go offline. That denial of service attack turned into a more deliberate and nasty, very nasty, full-blown hack. While we were there, the live hack came in. We did an online tracing of the Internet Protocol address, which took us back to a university. Not just a university, but a machine specifically at that university. It was electronic warfare in the trenches. He was trying to hack and shut down, and we were trying to track and trace. And so using trap and traces on the telecommunications side of the house, with the appropriate court orders from the United States Attorney's Office, this was a real live manhunt. And he was trying not to be caught, and we were trying to catch him. And he was trying to be anonymous, and we were trying to find out who he was. And so what happened was we were able to positively identify him, the suspect, at the keyboard during the time of the hack. That time frame that I just gave you took us 4 hours.
In fact, business is increasingly vulnerable to computer attack. So this summer, when Bloomberg Business News was held to ransom by hackers, the company decided to make a stand.
We saw an attempt being made coming from Kazakhstan. They actually sent us an email demanding money. We immediately called the Federal Bureau of Investigation here in New York and commenced what turned out to be a 3 or 4 month sting operation to lure these people to a jurisdiction where we could get them arrested.
When Michael Bloomberg came to the FBI, we took the extortionist email threat, and the computer squad traced that back to the country of Kazakhstan. We decided to have Michael Bloomberg meet these individuals in London. A meeting was arranged for Michael Bloomberg, the individuals that were attempting to extort him, and a couple of Metropolitan Police officers who posed in an undercover capacity. We decided that this might give a false sense of security to the individuals making the extortion threat, that they might be more willing to go to a neutral or third country as opposed to coming to the United States to collect the monies. And then a third reason was that we were aware that this would be an extraditable offense from Great Britain.
We have got to be satisfied that a crime has been committed here in the United Kingdom. This clearly is a prerequisite of any request that we receive from any countries overseas. The FBI in New York were quite content that a crime, or an alleged crime, had been committed within their jurisdiction. As part of the demand for money, bank accounts had been set up in New York, London, in Europe, and in the former Soviet Union to receive the funds that had been demanded. The suspects turned up at the central London location at a hotel and participated in a meeting that involved representatives of Bloomberg and undercover officers. As a result of that meeting, there was clear evidence to indicate that the suspects, in fact, were involved in this email extortion. Sufficient evidence was gained from the interviews and the conversations that took place at the hotel that enabled Scotland Yard to arrest both suspects on behalf of the United States.
Most companies, when they get attacked, invariably pay a small amount of what you can call ransom or extortion. because they don't want to run any risks and they don't want to tell their customers that they are vulnerable. The truth of the matter is everybody is vulnerable all the time. You have to be terribly vigilant, and I think that companies that pay extortion are making a terrible mistake. The reason they keep doing it is that so many people cave in and pay them a small amount of money. It's never a big amount. A big amount you couldn't hide, but a small amount you can, and this is why they ask for a couple of $100,000 in our case rather than a couple of $1 million. But if you start playing that game, you're going down a slippery slope. It's bad for your company, and it's bad for society.
The analysts predict by 2001 there'll be 20 million individuals on the internet capable of launching a cyber attack out of the hundreds of millions of internet users. With these large number of people capable of launching attacks, and with this new complex software and technologies required to offer the depth of services we begin to expect in the internet market, these complex machines on the internet will have problems, they will have bugs, and part of that 20 million users will find problems with them and exploit them.
We've made a devil's bargain, I think. We like the convenience and the efficiency of technology, and the price for that is going to be less privacy. The price of that is going to be more people knowing about us and more dependence on these networks, and when something happens, we're going to be more and more unable to function without all of this technology. But we all like the convenience of credit cards, even though it leaves a paper trail of what we bought and where we bought it. We all like the convenience of being able to go through a toll booth without slowing down, but then there's a record of where we went in our car and who was in the car. We all like the convenience of transferring monies around the world at the touch of a button over the internet, but when you do that, you have to understand that there is a risk that somebody will break in and take some of your monies and you might not get it back.
That good a quality.
No, they're not, but they're still computer generated.
You have a computer at home or anything like that, Corey?
No, I don't.
Your mom or anybody?
No.
No? Okay. You're positive none of your prints are going to come back on any of that stuff?
This stack of paper is predominantly used with all counterfeiters. It's called MIPS paper. And the program that's used is called VersaCheck. And that's a program that you load into your computer, and you can process your own checks. All you need is somebody's check or a business check. And once you have the payor information, their financial institution, and a bank account number and routing number that's at the bottom of the check, you can pretty much transfer that anywhere. But this is actually the program that's used in order to manufacture the check. This shows the variations of the types of checks that you can order, and you can order these checks from this company.
But not all computer crime requires a degree in computer skills. User-friendly software and high computer graphics have made counterfeiting easy. Even the onboard police computer is vulnerable to interference.
We have an RD lap system, which is supposed to be secure, or the FBI said it would be secure for at least 10 years. That's not the case. I don't even think it lasted for 10 minutes. And all you need, basically, is a scanner that's been modified, hooked up to the laptop, and then you need the software and this smart cable hooked up to my computer, and now I can intercept all the mobile data terminal messages that I want. The scary part about this is that I know exactly where you are at what time. So let's say I sign on the terminal, I see Detective Ewell, shield number 2466, and my password. I get all that information based on that computer. Some people say, oh, what's the big deal if they read what's coming over to the MDTs? Let's say, hypothetically, that I'm shot and I'm being rushed to the hospital. As we all know, all that pertinent data is put on that terminal, and it's being transmitted as I'm being transported to the hospital. The only unfortunate part about that is that if I have one of these decoders Now I can read that information. And let's say that person doesn't like me, and they see that I have A negative blood. Well, all they have to do is manipulate the information and put in B positive. So when I get to the hospital, I'm going to be fed with B positive blood. Not a good thing.
Back in Sacramento, the forensic team is dispatched to a suspect's house.
A lot of people that don't want us to find whatever it is they're doing, their files or whatever, they'll put in a program in shutdown, so when it does the normal shutdown, it goes out and erases those files. And then a lot of times not only erases it, but copies over it so it can't be retrieved. So that's why we don't do a normal shutdown. Another precaution we take is we'll make sure that the telephone jack is unplugged from the back of the CPU, because with computers, a person can be anywhere and come in remotely through the wires and erase what we're looking for.
You have sold for 10,000
well,
of the counterfeit bills.
Yeah.
And your take is what?
Nothing. I'll get a free pill of E.
You just get the ecstasy.
Yeah.
How does he make the bills?
On his computer.
Well, how much does he bring over to you at one time?
The most he's ever brought over was 10,000.
And all 20s?
All 20s.
Okay, but understand this, okay, Joe, is that we're able to, not myself, we're able to. She's able to go under there and bring up things that you have previously deleted. If you think that that's clean, it's not.
This isn't just a bluff designed to encourage a confession. Police can recover damning evidence on a computer, even if the files have been deleted. Once the computer is seized, the hard drive is removed and a perfect copy made.
What we're going to do is take a bitstream image of the original media and duplicate it to one of our own forensics hard drives. Once this process is done, the copy that we make will be identical to the original. We'll be able to put the original back in evidence. It'll be secured, and it'll remain in its original condition from the point at which it was seized. If the individual had an idea that law enforcement was coming to seize the computer, this is where you're going to find the bulk of the information that you were looking for to begin with under the deleted or overwritten. Deleted would give you a specific icon, which would be the circle with the line through it. If it had been deleted and overwritten, we get the circle, and it's also got the what appears to be a waste can under it. The overwritten files, for the most part, are going to be unrecoverable. We may be able to get a portion of it back. However, the files that are simply deleted are generally not only recoverable, but we can usually view them as well. The first two have not only been deleted, but they've also been overwritten. The third one has been deleted, but not overwritten yet. And in some cases, we may even be able to recover some of the deleted files directly through this software.
These are the forensic experts of the cyber world. They sift through the mind-boggling masses of data in search of the crucial clues which will pin the crime on the suspect. The biggest single commodity on the net is pornography. But here too, the criminals leave a computer trail.
We received information that a website was hosting child pornography. We then accessed the website via an undercover account and determined who the individual was that was hosting the website. We're in the process right now of finding the individual who it's registered to, and we're still in the beginning processes of the investigation. But it looks like we have enough to go on so far where we could follow up on enough leads. And there was definitely child pornography that was on the website.
As the business community must deal with the threat posed by internet criminals, so society in general must confront the child pornographers and sexual predators who hide behind the anonymity of the World Wide Web. In Sacramento, an officer logs on to an internet chat room. It's the cyber equivalent of cops on the beat.
I have the name of Sherry. I have nothing as far as age
or anything else on my profile. So usually when I'll go into a room like this, they will immediately hit up on me and ask me about how old I am and la-da-da, this and that. And as we're in here, we're just going to hang out. We're not even going to say anything and see how long it takes before windows start popping up with people wanting to chat privately with us. Like here's one right here. And this person says hello, and I'll just answer back hi. And here's two more. And so here in a minute of 10 or 15 seconds, we got 1, 2, 3, we got 4 people that have hit on this person. And here's another one that just popped up. So he's asking me to tell him what I look like when I'm naked, so we'll make something up for that. So when I told him that I didn't have very big boobies and I'm not hairy, he smiled and says he likes the sound of that. And here's a guy that's sending me a program right now. He wants me to hook this program up so I can watch him with his camera. He's got a camera at his house, and he's sending me this. What he's trying to do is he's trying to send me a program that will allow me to video conference with him. It's a fairly common program for video conferencing, or I've used it quite often. We're connected directly to this internet protocol address, so we could run a trace on that and find out where this guy is, roughly the city, and then work backwards from there to find out who he is. So there's another guy. He says, you may be into an extreme, kinky, and perverted family sex session. He says he's male 33, so. And then I told him, I'm not supposed to be here, I'm only 13. And he does a double smiley face when I tell him that, so he's obviously interested in that too.
1 in 5 youths between the ages of 10 and 17 received a sexual approach over the internet.
Jason and I and a few other members of the task force posed as a 12-year-old boy on America Online and went to a chat room. We had a conversation with this one gentleman for approximately 4 months. Talked to him probably 4 or 5 times a week, and he flew in from San Francisco to meet with us. We couldn't suggest any kind of meeting with this person. We couldn't bring up any sexual talk or any innuendos. Everything had to come from him. So we just talked to him in a normal manner and just waited for him.
We were very careful on that issue.
We were very careful.
So careful that the defense attorney's not even going to plead entrapment.
How about the fantasy defense?
That's his whole defense, that he never once believed that there really was a 12-year-old boy, that...
Even if there was, he was never going to meet with the boy. That's what he's going to try to use.
Well, he's got to try something.
Yeah.
What's he looking at, 30 years?
Yeah, 30 years.
He's looking at 30 years. Well, do we have enough predisposition in conversation?
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
It's always on the advance.
He was on probation for being a pedophile. He was HIV positive and did not, at the time of his arrest, have any intention of any protection.
That's correct.
We almost
That's
got
a
him.
gross endangerment.
It definitely is.
The attorney almost wanted to get him with manslaughter charges, attempted manslaughter, because of that. The internet is probably the greatest blessing to criminals that I can ever imagine. You can completely hide your tracks using different websites and programs on the internet where nobody will ever know where you were, where you're from, and where you went. You can become a ghost easily.
Find out more about the science of crime on our Equinox website at channel4.com/next step. Next Thursday at 9, no contest, it's always a good night from him, Ronnie Barker in Heroes of Comedy. Coming up tonight on 4, clerical nonsense with Father Ted in just a couple of minutes.